lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and I'm going to be talking another favorite of mine that came out this week, Savage Dragon 267. Always a good week when a new issue of Savage Dragon comes out. But before I get into it, I just want to remind everybody, if you are subscribed, we appreciate you. Thank you for your support. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're notified every time we drop new vids, which are on the daily. We have a backlog of really dope content. I got some backlog too that I haven't even put on the channel yet that's to come. Now let's get into this issue. So this is the triple size 30th anniversary special, and it's the wedding of Angel Murphy and Frank Darling Jr. Well, this is not technically the 30th anniversary is this was well underway. That really took place in 2022, but Erik Larsen is doing his 30th anniversary celebration in this issue by showing the wedding of two of the more important characters in this run. I love this. We get some flashbacks of Malcolm and Angel. We get the original dragon here, since he's not alive in the current comics. We get to see kind of how the relationship of Angel and Frank kind of took place. And I love these double page spreads by Erik Larsen. I am always stoked when I see this. It kind of reminds me of how Kirby would open a comic. You got that full page, then you fucking follow it with that double page spread. And I'm super stoked to see the OG Dragon in here. And, seeing a young Malcolm, young Angel. And they're fighting in the street. And we see Frank is kind of getting attacked. He calls her Princess, which, there's a chunk of Savage Dragon that I still haven't read, due to jumping back in and out of comic books in terms of how many I was picking up. So it's cool to see this, maybe, I don't know if this was in the main story or not, but, you're getting to see this relationship build out between Frank and Angel. And then we flash forward and we see that, Dragon's dead, or at least that's what they think at this moment, because, he will die later. And so they go to live with, Frank Darling, widow, and son. And, anybody that knows the history of Savage Dragon knows Frank Darling is, the original cop that got the OG Dragon on the force and to become a cop. So now we're seeing them live together, and, this book has definitely, leaned into some of the more adult themes over, I would say, the last few years. I think it's always been present, but I think that, it's definitely present here. And I he walks in on her and she's like, how you're going to see me in my undies. And I love this. He's like, well, you could lock the door. And she's like, yeah, but then you'd never walk in. And so we're seeing the beginnings of this tension between them. Flash forward a little bit. Now Angel's in a new costume. She's fighting these Azorbanoids, and they're draining her, making her weak, and they've kind of aged her face, and so she thinks she's ugly, but, he thinks she's the most beautiful girl in the world. And I really love this, the way that Erik has chosen to kind of just jump and kind of bring new readers up to speed on the relationship that they have, and, kind of how they got to the place where they'd want to be married. And then we see this alien invasion take place. He cheats on her because he thinks he's about to die. While he cheated on her, that girl got pregnant. And then we're going to see a really, really fast forward, bunch of different panels to kind of get through so we can get to the present. But we see the ups and downs of their relationship. We see some of the more, I guess you could say, controversial moments that people seem to like to make noise about in terms of the content of, Savage Dragon, some of the sexual escapades that involved Angel and Malcolm, and, in turn, how some of the, the Dragon kids, Dragon or Malcolm's kids came to be. I love this because you get everything you need super fast. And for somebody that is also missing some of the issues, I had heard about some of the things that took place, but I like the way, just a simple panel, she dies. How? Because of the kid, punched her in the stomach. Because, of course, Malcolm, a lot of cheating going around. So I thought it was, both informative and pretty funny. And then we get this moment between Malcolm and Frank, and he's like, man, you guys have been through a lot. And so he's basically reiterating what we just saw in these 12 panel pages. And So he's like, she's been with a lot of superheroes. You're going to have to step up your game. And he's like, yeah, all right, just drop it. And he's like, well, I'm happy for you too. Congratulations. And then we get this scene between Maxine and Angel, who have their own history based on those 24 panels in the previous 2 pages. And, talking about like, she just wants some assurance that she's doing the right thing because she's not sure. Then we get this, beautiful few pages of them, walking down the aisle, the kids, everyone's excited and happy. Something happens here where he's like, he grabs his head. Malcolm's like, you okay? I like this moment between Paul Dragon, who, is their dad basically from an alternate universe. They are now husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. And he lays one on her. Beautiful one-page spread. And then this, I'm going to destroy you. What, like, his whole demeanor is different. And Malcolm's like, yeah, I told him to step up his game, but I had no idea it would lead to this. And then we get this scene, but it's nothing to prepare you for what you're about to see, which is really the shocking moment of the book, in my opinion, is we go to Mr. Glum. He's saying, what happened to me? My hands, these aren't my hands. We have a young Angel talking to him, and he's saying, oh my God, he switched minds with me. So now we see that Mr. Glum switched minds with Frankie and is now married to Angel. And we had seen it in some of the, the flashback panels of like, his obsession, with Angel. I don't know what Erik Larsen's going to do with this one, but I am very excited to see what comes next in Savage Dragon. I love this book. I have for a long time, and I'll say it, every time I talk about this book. It is still, to this day, my favorite series of the original Image launch. It's the one I connected to the most, and I liked all of them. But Savage Dragon, it probably, has to do a lot with the fact that Erik is, 267 issues in. He's done every issue. Even if it doesn't come out on a regular basis, he's still putting in the work. He's still doing it. And was lucky enough to get to meet him at New York Comic Con. First time meeting him. It was so awesome. Got a Savage Dragon head sketch. It was the highlight of my trip. I absolutely love Erik Larsen's work. Everything he's done, I'm a fan of. Like I said, always a good week when we get new Savage Dragon. So you might be wondering, 100-page special, right? What's the rest of the content? Well, he even talks about it here, which, he still does his letter pages, which I really got to send a letter. I'd love to see mine printed in here. But, he talks about it was supposed to mark the 30th anniversary, but he was running a bit late due to extenuating circumstances. So instead, it's just a random jumbo issue. We get a pinup by Ryan Alexander Tanner. We're going to get a couple short stories in here as well. We get a North Force story by Tim Pinchuk, Nikos Koustis on art, he's the colorist on the main Savage Dragon series. So we get a cool little story here. I really dig the style of making it look like it's an old comic book. Would really love to see some more North Force stuff. Maybe a mini series. I don't know necessarily if for an ongoing, but I would really love to see some of these characters more fleshed out. Really, really fun story. Then we get Amy, Jack, and Tyrone Dragon Gentrified by Simon Millette St. Pierre. I thought this story was hilarious. We see this homeless guy being attacked by the Tech Brotherhood, and their names are Startup Algorithm and Chad. And they're just like talking about taking out the trash. If our elected officials won't do it, then we will. And of course, these stupid, tech guys, are going to hate on the homeless people. But what happens? We get one of the Dragon kids, just coming over here and said, leave them alone. And now they're talking about aliens. They call them gross. And the homeless guy, I love this. He's like, I summoned them with. Great short story here. Really dig the art. Definitely fits the tone of these characters. And now they got the tech brobot that they're sicking on the Dragon kids. But it breaks and they're like, oh my God, you messed up the coding. It was crowdfunded. So just some really funny moments here. And then we follow it up. So that's all the new content. Now we got a bunch of reprints that have been recolored by Erik Larsen, much like he did when he reprinted Graphic Fantasy 1 and 2. He's now done it with this. So we get this Vanguard issue, Gary Carlson, many call the grandfather of Image Comics. He did the Megaton imprint. He does Big Bang Comics now. Bunch of dope content there too. I have an interview with Greg with Gary Carlson on the channel. Definitely check that out. So these are really cool. I won't get too into it because a couple of these issues are actually ones I wanted to do episodes on for the original. Maybe I'll bust this out and compare the colors to the original. But I loved Vanguard. I loved when, you know, he got reintroduced in Image Comics and Gary Carlson came on to write that book. But this is all going to lead up to great fights. I love seeing old Erik Larsen art too. It's really cool to see like where he started and where he is now. But it's going to lead to the inevitable fight with Dragon. And this is, you know, that Paul Dragon that we see in the main series. That is the same Paul Dragon from here. And I think it's so cool how he introduced him into the main continuity and kind of tied this all in together. I have the original of this. So definitely going to be talking about that soon. Again, just really cool to see this art, you know, represented here. I love that we get like the, you know, to mimic the way comics were colored back then, the same same technique, and even the off-white to mimic newsprint. Just such great action scenes, man. Great shot right here. So really cool here. And then we get this one. I'm not sure what issue this was. I feel like I might have it, I'm not sure, but really cool. We get to see some of the other characters from the Megaton universe, but very cool stuff. And then one of my favorite parts about this too is we get to the end. See, he was doing this kind of adult themes even back then, man. So people need to stop being such prudes and stop complaining about dumb shit. But this right here, love this, so awesome. And then we get this Berserker coming in 1986. This is dated April of 84. This drawing is almost 40 years old. This April will be 40 years old. I would love to see some of these characters revisited. So, great issue. I know that was a quick one for a 100-page comic, but really just wanted to focus mostly on the new content and kind of show off some of the old content. If you're a Savage Dragon fan and you don't have this on your pull list, put this on your pull list so you don't miss a new issue. You do not want to miss an issue of this series because Erik Larsen is doing some of the best comic books, in my opinion, of his career. He's still killing it. Every time a new issue drops, it's one of my favorite books that came out of the week. It's always at the top of my read pile. And check out some of the Erik Larsen content we got on the channel. We got other Savage Dragon episodes. We got interviews with Erik Larsen here. Like I mentioned, that Gary Carlson interview as well. And make sure you like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, I'm out.